Have you ever wondered why two people with the same background, same education, and same opportunities can end up with totally different results? It's not luck, it's not talent, it's the inner game, because before you can win out there, you have to master what's going on in here. Let's talk about how to master the inner game and use it to win the outer world. Step #1. Your thoughts create your reality. Everything in your life begins with a thought. Every result you've achieved, every success or failure you've experienced, started in your mind first. Your thoughts shape the way you see the world, the way you interpret events, and most importantly, the way you respond to them. If you constantly tell yourself that you're not good enough, your brain begins to accept it as truth. Over time, you unconsciously act in ways that align with that belief. You hesitate, you avoid challenges, and you sabotage opportunities. On the other hand, if you begin to think, truly think, that you are capable, resourceful, and worthy of success, your behavior starts to shift accordingly. You begin to take more initiative, you speak with more certainty, you seek out solutions instead of problems. What's happening here is not magic, it's psychology. It's how the subconscious mind responds to consistent internal dialogue. Repetition of thought becomes belief, and belief becomes action, and action, repeated over time, becomes habit. Those habits then shape the outcomes you experience. This is why the most successful individuals are extremely careful about what they allow to take root in their minds. They know that if they dwell on doubt, they invite fear. If they dwell on opportunity, they cultivate growth. You become what you think about most of the time. Your dominant thoughts influence your decisions, your emotional state, and your ability to push through adversity. If your mind is cluttered with negativity, distractions, or excuses, the external world will reflect that disorder. But if your mind is focused, intentional, and positive, your external world begins to move in alignment with that inner focus. You begin to notice possibilities where others see obstacles. You recognize patterns that lead to progress. You filter your environment through a lens that reinforces your goals, not your limitations. Step #2. Self-discipline is the bridge to outer success. Self-discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's the invisible force that separates those who dream from those who achieve. Most people wait for motivation to strike before they take action, but high achievers understand that motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Discipline, on the other hand, is dependable. It's a muscle that can be trained and strengthened over time. When you develop self-discipline, you begin to take control of your time, your habits, and your energy. You stop being reactive and start becoming intentional. You begin to operate from your commitments, not your feelings. Every time you get up early to work on your goals, even when it's easier to hit the snooze button, you are building discipline. Every time you choose to stay focused instead of scrolling through distractions, you're reinforcing a habit of follow-through. Every time you say no to short-term pleasure in favor of long-term gain, you are laying another brick on the path to success. Discipline is what keeps you moving when the initial excitement wears off. It's what drives you to finish what you started. Even when progress feels slow, it forces you to make decisions based on purpose, not impulse. It keeps your emotions in check and your actions aligned with your bigger vision. Without self-discipline, talent is wasted, plans remain on paper, and potential stays untapped. It's the critical link between goals and results. The truth is, life will always offer distractions, temptations, and easy ways out. Discipline is your internal compass that brings you back to the task at hand. It's not about being rigid or harsh, it's about being committed to a standard. It's about choosing what you want most over what you want right now, and the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, what once felt difficult becomes automatic. You begin to trust yourself more because you know you'll do what needs to be done. You stop making excuses and start creating momentum. Step #3. Clarity leads to power. Clarity is the starting point of all achievement. When you are clear about what you want, everything else begins to align. You think more sharply, you act more decisively, and you waste far less time chasing distractions or opportunities that don't serve your purpose. Most people drift through life reacting to circumstances, moving in and out of jobs, relationships, and routines without ever truly deciding what they want. They live in a fog of indecision, hoping that one day things will magically fall into place. But clarity doesn't come from waiting. It comes from deliberate thinking. It comes from asking yourself tough questions. What do I really want? What does success look like to me? What am I willing to sacrifice to get there? Until you define your destination, no amount of hard work will take you where you truly want to go. Clarity simplifies your life. When you know your top priorities, you automatically eliminate the noise. You don't chase every new trend because you're focused on your vision. You're not pulled in a dozen directions by other people's agendas because you've already committed to your own. It becomes easier to say no because you have a powerful reason to say yes to what matters most. Clarity also fuels motivation. A vague goal has no emotional pull, but a vivid picture of your future self, living the life you've designed, creates energy. It wakes you up early. It helps you push through resistance. It turns your daily habits into meaningful steps rather than mindless routines. When you're clear on your purpose, you stop asking whether you're on the right track, and when life throws challenges your way, you navigate them with a steady hand because you're not confused about your direction. Clarity also makes decision-making faster and more effective. Instead of overthinking every move, you weigh it against your clear goals and values. If it moves you closer, you act. If it doesn't, you pass. This eliminates stress, regret, and wasted effort. It also inspires confidence. People follow those who are certain, who move with intention, and who radiate a sense of purpose. Clarity sharpens your focus and magnifies your results. It transforms ordinary days into productive ones and turns average efforts into impactful progress. The clearer you are about your desired outcome, the easier it becomes to map the steps to get there. You become proactive instead of reactive, strategic instead of scattered. You begin to operate with a sense of mission that gives meaning to your time, your energy, and your effort. Step #4. Confidence is built, not born. Confidence is not something you are born with. It's something you build moment by moment through action and intention. It doesn't arrive in your life all at once, and it's not reserved for a chosen few. It grows from experience, from effort, and from your ability to face discomfort and push through it. People often look at those who carry themselves with certainty and assume they were always that way. But what they don't see are the hundreds of small decisions, the late nights, the failures, and the recoveries that shape that selfish endurance over time. True confidence is forged in the moments when you show up despite fear, when you speak up despite doubt, and when you take the first step even when the path isn't fully clear. It's built every time you do the hard thing instead of the easy thing, every time you choose progress over perfection, every time you follow through on a commitment to yourself. Confidence isn't arrogance, it's not loud or boastful, it's quiet strength. It's the inner knowing that whatever happens, you can handle it, and that belief doesn't come from pretending. It comes from preparation. The more you practice, the more capable you become, and the more capable you become, the more you trust yourself to rise to the occasion. Confidence comes from doing the work no one sees, from pushing through the days when it would be easier to quit, from setting goals and hitting them, not to impress others, but to prove to yourself that you can. When you keep promises to yourself, your self-respect grows, and from self-respect comes self-belief. You don't need to feel confident before you take action. That's the myth. Action comes first. Courage leads the way, and confidence follows. You start where you are with what you have, and you give your best effort. As you gather evidence of your growth, your competence increases, and from that competence, confidence is born. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, carry yourself differently, not because you're faking anything, but because you've earned it. You've been tested, and you've proven to yourself that you can adapt, improve, and overcome. Confidence becomes a natural byproduct of doing hard things, of stretching your limits, and of living in alignment with your values. It becomes part of your identity, not because someone gave it to you, but because you built it brick by brick through discipline, persistence, and self-awareness. Step #5. Emotions are signals, not commanders. Emotions are an essential part of the human experience. They're powerful, they're immediate, and they carry valuable information about what we care about, what we fear, and what we value. But while emotions are meant to be felt, Acknowledged, they are not meant to be in control. They are signals, indicators that something is happening inside or around you that deserves attention. They are not commands that must be obeyed. When you treat emotions as commanders, you begin to react impulsively. You lash out when angry, withdraw when afraid, procrastinate when anxious, or quit when discouraged. These reactions might feel justified in the moment, but they often lead you away from your goals and values. When you learn to step back and observe your emotions instead of being ruled by them, you begin to make decisions from a place of clarity rather than chaos. Being emotionally intelligent doesn't mean you suppress what you feel. It means you interpret it wisely. You ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Is it valid, or is it based on an outdated belief? Is it helping me move forward or pulling me back? For example, fear might be signaling that something is unfamiliar or uncertain. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It might mean that you need more preparation or courage. Anger might indicate that a boundary has been crossed, but it doesn't give you permission to destroy relationships. Sadness might tell you that you've lost something meaningful, but it doesn't mean you're broken or incapable of joy again. Emotions are messengers, not dictators. They bring insight, but they don't get to drive your life. The most successful and fulfilled people have learned to feel deeply without losing control. They allow space for their emotions, but they respond with discipline. They use their feelings as fuel, not as chains. If they feel doubt, they investigate it, but they don't surrender to it. If they feel resistance, they use it as a signal to lean in, not retreat. Over time, they develop emotional resilience, the ability to stay grounded, to keep moving forward, and to choose response over reaction. This skill becomes a competitive advantage in every area of life, in business, in relationships, in leadership. Those who can manage their emotions under pressure gain the trust of others and the trust of themselves. They create a sense of calm in chaos. They think clearly when others panic. They become the kind of person others look to because they're not easily shaken. Emotionally reactive people are at the mercy of their circumstances, but emotionally intelligent people remain anchored no matter the storm, and that anchoring doesn't come from avoiding feelings. It comes from understanding them, processing them, and then choosing the most empowered course of action. Step #6. Success begins with responsibility. Success doesn't begin with luck, opportunity, or even talent. It begins with responsibility. The moment you take full ownership of your life, everything changes. As long as you believe that your results are someone else's fault, you give away your power. You become a victim of your circumstances rather than the architect of your future. Responsibility means accepting without excuse that you are in charge of your thoughts, your actions, and your outcomes. It means that no matter where you started or what has happened to you, your response is what ultimately shapes your destiny. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that's gone wrong. It means acknowledging your role in everything you experience and recognizing that you have the ability to choose your next move. When you step into responsibility, you stop waiting. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you, validate you, or hand you an opportunity. You stop complaining about what you don't have and start focusing on what you can do with what you've got. You begin to look inward for answers instead of pointing fingers. This shift in mindset is subtle, but it's transformational. It moves you from a passive state to an active one. You begin to ask better questions, not why is this happening to me, but what can I learn from this, or how can I grow through this? You stop being driven by excuses and start being fueled by purpose. Responsibility is the foundation of self-respect. When you consistently take ownership of your behavior, your progress, and your results, you build trust with yourself. You know that you're not relying on circumstances, you're relying on your character, and from that character comes the discipline to stay on track, the courage to make tough choices, and the resilience to bounce back when things go wrong. People who avoid responsibility often live in cycles of frustration, disappointment, and stagnation, because they never hold themselves accountable long enough to create lasting change. But those who embrace responsibility begin to rise. They rise above excuses, above setbacks, above the limitations of their environment, because they are grounded in the belief that they are ultimately in control of their Future, responsibility also creates clarity. When you own your role in every situation, you no longer waste time blaming others. You can focus on solutions. You can improve, adjust, and evolve faster because you're not stuck in denial. You become the kind of person who others respect not because you're perfect, but because you show up, take charge, and grow through your experiences. Taking responsibility is not always easy. It requires humility. It requires self-awareness. And it requires the willingness to let go of the comfort of blaming others. But the moment you take it, you become powerful. You step into the driver's seat of your life. You stop being reactive and start being proactive. You begin to live with intention because you understand that your choices, not your conditions, define your success. The world around you will always reflect the world within you. If you want greater results, you must start with greater responsibility. If you want more success, it begins with more clarity. If you want to lead, achieve, and live at your highest level, you must first master the inner game. Because the truth is, your mind is the control center of your entire life. Discipline, confidence, focus, and emotional strength. These aren't traits people are born with. They're built, refined, and earned through daily intention and self-leadership. When you train your mind, you transform your world. It all begins with the choice to stop waiting, stop blaming, and start becoming. Master the inner game, and the outer world will follow.